It's time for your Low Country Real Estate Market Update. It's the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. Brian is one of the top 1% real estate agents in Charleston. Find him online at listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Or call him at 843-400-8009. Now, broadcasting from the WTMA studios, here's your host, Brian Beatty.
Good morning, Charleston, and welcome to another edition of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. 8 years I've been on this program, providing you with my opinion of the real estate market, helping you better understand the process associated with buying, selling, and investing in real estate, and, of course, giving you my read on what's happening here locally in the Charleston area. So we take national, regional, local news, we tie it into what's happening in the Low Country, so that you are an informed and prepared consumer when it comes time for you to buy, sell, or invest in real estate. So appreciate those of you that listen to the show on a routine basis. If this is your first time tuning in, my name is Brian Beatty. I've been doing this for 8 years, selling real estate in Charleston for 16 years, about $1 billion or so, a little more than that in real estate represented here locally, top 1% agent for the past 12 years. So it's just an opportunity for me to share what I'm seeing in our market with you. This is not a show that is just one really long sales pitch. This is an opportunity for me to kind of just peel back the curtain on the industry a little bit, but just tell you like it is. And so one of the first things that I'm going to do today is I want to talk through this whole Zillow debacle, which you may have heard about. I want to kind of get deep into that. Zillow is, man, so many agents have such a love-hate relationship with Zillow. I'll explain why. But we're going to get into that. We're going to talk about the market. We're going to talk about really what I think the next 90 or so days of this market's going to look like. No, I do not have my crystal ball with me. No, I am not going to be making specific, I'm not going to tell you what I think is going to happen in the market down to like percentage increases in sales and pricing and so on and so forth. There is so much uncertainty in our market right now that I think if we have much more of it, then it's going to lead to kind of a bit of a failure in consumer confidence. And that's going to be one of the turning points for our market. I don't think we're there yet, but I think we're getting there. People just don't really understand what's going to happen. And so anytime you research or try to figure out what an agent really thinks about what's happening in the market, the reality is they don't really know. Mostly because they don't follow the markets and they don't understand how to articulate their opinion. And if they do, it's really just in relation to what's happening in their own individual business. They're not looking at it from a macro perspective. There is no 30,000-foot view opinion of the market because that would require them to do some research, and most agents like to live in the here and the now. So I'm not going to be giving specifics on percentages. I'm not going to say that prices are going to go up by X percent. I think it'd be foolish for anybody to do that right now. But we're also going to talk about if you're going to buy a home in the next 90 days, if you're going to sell a home in the next 90 days, here's some things that I think you need to be aware of, some things that you can start doing now to prep for that hopeful inevitable move in the first quarter of next year, if that's what your plan is. So kind of walk you through that process. But of course, if you have any questions for me at any point in time, just jot down this number. This is my personal cell phone number. You can call or text me on it, 843-400-8009. That's 843-400-8009. Or you can go to our website, listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Learn more about myself and my real estate team, who we are, what we do, what we sell, how we sell it, all that great stuff. Information on this radio show. We've got 8 years or so worth of content on there. Find out how much your home is worth, how many buyers we have for your home right now. If you decided to sell it, maybe we can just bring you one right now. So let's get into this. Let's talk about this whole Zillow debacle. So Zillow, which is it's a very well-known website for searching homes for sale, right? They got into the home flipping business about 2 years ago, December of 2019. So they launched this program called Zillow Offers. And they started in Southern California, like a lot of these companies do. And then they kind of expanded to 25 different cities across the country. Well, earlier this month, on November 2nd, they announced that they would be getting out of the home flipping business. They also laid off 25% of their workforce, by the way. But this was kind of attached to really dismal third quarter earnings for this year. And so the Zillow CEO, his name is Rich Barton, he came out with a quote that said, we've determined the unpredictability in forecasting home prices far exceeds what we anticipated. Continuing to scale Zillow offers would result in too much earnings and balance sheet volatility. Now, Barton also told CNBC's Closing Bell after the report that Zillow's ultimate failure was its inability to predict housing prices accurately. Isn't that interesting? We've all heard of a little something called Zestimates, right? So many people have hung their hat on what Zillow says their home is worth. Their own tool didn't even work to help them in the home flipping business. And so here's what happened. So their stock, they're a publicly traded company. Their stock went from $106 a share on October 29th, which was a Friday. They had the announcement on the 2nd, which is a Tuesday. On a Wednesday, November 3rd, their share dropped to $66. Now they're at $57 a share. In the third quarter of this year, they lost $328 million in net income, which was down 929% year over year. Diluted earnings per share was negative 1.29, which was down 906%. And the year over year net profit margin was down 18.9%, which was down 413% year over year. So, a lot goes into Zillow's stock price, obviously, and their valuation, since it's a multifaceted media company. But the homes segment, which is mostly comprised of Zillow offers, lost $422 million in the third quarter, which was obviously enough to produce a net loss for the entire company. The reality is they just bought too many homes at too high a price. They kind of broke the cardinal rule when it comes to flipping homes. You make your money in a flip when you buy it, not when you sell it. When you're flipping property, which I have done numerous times, I've helped dozens and dozens of investors do it. We've got an investor we work with right now that does it to the tune of about 30 times a month all over the state. We're their agent for that. So we understand the game extremely well. We are very well versed when it comes to working with investors. I'm an investor myself, both in terms of buying and flipping or holding or wholesaling or financing it through private money that I provide other investors. But anyways, I know the game really well. So in investing, you control the controllables. One of them being, and probably the most important of them being, how much you pay for the property. Because when you're flipping property, you reverse engineer the details and the financials of it. You say, well, all right, here's how much I think it's going to cost to renovate. Here's how much I think I can sell it for. Here are the costs associated with selling it. Here's what I know I need to buy it for in order to achieve that projected ROI. And if I can't get it at or below this price, there has to be a stopping point. That's why investment real estate really takes the emotion out of the decision. You're either playing red light, green light. This investment works or it doesn't. And so, Zillow has been in the hot seat, especially among realtors, for years. They said they would never be a competitor of ours. Real estate agents, for those of you that don't know, for a very long time, Zillow was, for a lot of agents, it was like their number one lead source. And so the way it would work is, we have all these folks that go to Zillow on a monthly basis. And let's say that, I wanted to receive leads from Zillow in a specific zip code. Well, they make money on you so many different ways, and they continue to cut the pie into smaller and smaller pieces without reducing expenses. It used to just be, okay, well, yeah, we'll give you buyer and seller leads in this zip code. And then it used to be, oh, you know what? If you want to be the only person that appears on your listings online, and if you want to be the only person that receives those phone calls, we got to charge you more for that. And then they said, well, you know what? We'll keep you up there, but then we're going to add 2 or 3 other agents to the account just so that there are more pigs at the trough, just so that the consumer receives a better experience. Oh, you want seller offers? Well, now we're splitting up buyer leads and seller leads. They keep changing. They keep altering. They keep taking the same leads and cutting them up differently. And then they said, well, hey, you know what? We're doing these Zillow offers now. So I know I said that we'd never be a competitor of yours, but hey, we're going to offer this hassle-free experience. Sellers don't need to prep their home for sale anymore. They don't have to clean it up prior to showings. They don't have to make repairs, so on and so forth. We'll just buy it as is cash. But in return for that convenience, Zillow was charging a convenience fee, which on average, by the way, was 7.5% of the purchase price. Little known fact. Also, Zillow is not in Charleston, so it's not like you would have ever seen one of these offers anyways. We were not a market in which they were buying property. But that convenience fee was ranging for, between anywhere from 2% to 22%. And so, on top of Zillow now being an entity that purchases property, their way of thinking about it was, hey, now we're going to have more people contacting us that might want to have us buy their home directly. And if it doesn't work out, then, hey, there's another lead that we can provide you with for a cost or for a referral fee. And when they buy the property and we go to sell it, we'll hire an agent that's paying Zillow a bunch of money, and we'll get a referral fee from them, of course, and leads, generated for the agents at cost, of course. And so they just started gobbling everything up, including homes, and it didn't work. So, a lot of us have seen this Zillow's Zestimates tool, which the company was using as a starting point to determine how much to pay for a property. And really interestingly, the company's median margin of error was 7% for properties that were not currently on the market. So if you look deeper into their actual numbers, and then after this, we're going to take a little bit of a break, but if you look deeper into their actual numbers, which are posted on their website, by the way, this is what you'll find. For anything that's not currently on the market for sale, an off-market property, obviously a situation in which an accurate estimate of value would be really helpful. Zillow's estimate was within 20% of the actual sales price 85% of the time. Zillow's estimate was 10%, was within 10% of the sales price 64% of the time. It was within 5% of the actual sales price only 39% of the time. In other words, if you're selling a house in Charleston County, which averages $700,000 right now, by the way, then only 85% of the time they could accurately predict that your home would sell for somewhere between $560 and $840. I mean, that's really what they're saying. So I know a lot of people still use Zillow's Zestimates and that tool, but their system is and always will be flawed. They rely on not just county data, public data, sales data, but they rely on consumer entered data. They don't know what kind of condition your home is in. They don't know what kind of upgrades you've made. They don't know what the value of those upgrades are in comparison to the other homes in your area, on your street, in your neighborhood that do or do not have them. It's a flawed system because they'll always be missing that kind of information. Unless they completely overhaul it and they ask for you as a consumer to start entering that data. But that means that everybody in America is going to have to start putting in, well, here's when I updated my kitchen, and here are the countertops that I put in, and here's the quality of my cabinetry, and, do I need to paint my home? Yes or no? That could be a $10,000 difference. And it's totally subjective. So if you want information on what your home is worth, take Zillow's lead on this. Don't use their tool. Use a real estate agent. We're the ones that know. If I was responsible for heading up a department that lost hundreds of millions of dollars and that resulted in a company having to lay off 25% of their workforce, I'd be viewed as pretty ineffective, wouldn't I? So I think that Zillow's estimate, while interesting, is subject to verification by somebody that actually knows the market. And that's where the real estate agent come in. That's where the human element is going to be very challenging to remove from this process. So if that's something I can help you with, if you're curious to know what your home is worth, and we're going to talk about this a little later on too, but what are some projects that you can do around the house? What's worth doing? Are there some things that people have been coached to do to their home that actually don't make them any money? The answer is yes. So if I can help you with any of that, feel free to give me a call. 843-400-8009. That's 843-400-8009. Or check us out online at listingsincharleston.com. And you can always send me an email. My email address is brian@brianbeattyteam.com. Stick around, folks. We'll be right back with more of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com.
Find Brian Beatty online at listingsincharleston.com. The Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues next on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA.
1250 WTMA.
Expert news and views on the Lowcountry real estate scene. The Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back, folks, as the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. You know, with holidays, kind of around the corner, and then, of course, then again at the end of next month, this is a really interesting time of year where a lot of folks are doing their planning, their preparation. They're investigating markets. They're learning more about the process. They're trying to get some questions answered about what they should be doing right now and in the next few weeks or months, several months maybe, if they plan on making a move in 2022. And so I want to help you with that. This is a fantastic time of year for us in that, we do have a lot of those new conversations. We do help people with the planning process of making a move, which, if I'm being perfectly honest, I wish we had more opportunity when we're talking to folks to kind of engage with them earlier on in the process, especially on the sales side when you're listing your home for sale. Now, don't get me wrong. I love getting the phone calls of, hey, Brian, we want to put our house on the market. Come out and talk to us. Those are great phone calls. Anybody would be foolish not to love that. But I wish that I had the ability, not just through this show and through some of the content that we have on our website, to be of more service in the earlier part of the process. Let's look at what is it that we think we should do to the house. And if we did these things, what's the return on that investment look like? So there's things we should do. There are things we should not do. And again, if I were able to have conversations with some of these folks a little earlier on the process, I'd have said, and sometimes it's just, there's nothing you can do about it, so you don't want to bring it up and make them feel bad. But, I've walked this into some homes and I'm like, man, I really wish you had not spent the money doing those things, because in the grand scheme of things, they haven't made your home worth any more money. And we've got a long list of this stuff. There's actually a report that's put out every year that tracks the job cost, the earnings from that specific upgrade or remodel, to then, of course, arrive at the return on investment for a bunch of different projects. And they look at it nationally, they look at it regionally, they look at it on a state level, they look at it on a county level. I can even get as granular as the average job costs of certain things within Charleston County. So, just quick side note, but if you want a copy of that report, if you want to see, generally speaking, how much it costs to do certain projects around the house and how much money you can recoup out of that investment, do me a favor, send me a text. 843-400-8009 is the number you're going to text, and you're just going to text the word report. I'll know what you're talking about. Text the word report to 843-400-8009. And if you're thinking about doing any work to your house, whether it's just to upgrade it for yourself and your own personal enjoyment, or if you're thinking of making some repairs prior to putting it up for sale, then let me send you that report first. But more importantly, let me walk through your house so that I can apply some situational knowledge to what you're trying to accomplish. We've had some folks that we get a call from them and they say, yeah, we just finished renovating our kitchen. And I'll ask them, so tell me what you did. What kind of cabinetry is it? Countertops, tile, appliances, so on and so forth. And some of the, we had this happen a little earlier in the year where somebody did about a $60,000 kitchen renovation on about a $200,000 house. Guys, don't spend $60,000 on a kitchen on a $200,000 home. It looked beautiful. It was fantastic. It was nicer than most kitchens in $600,000 homes. But you don't need to be spending that kind of money on a kitchen remodel for a home that is worth that amount of money. You're not going to get anywhere close to your money back. The other important thing to mention here is if you're planning on doing some work to your house, we have all types of relationships with vendors that can help save you money and that are reliable. When you hire them, they show up, they get the job done, they do it right. I'm not going to promise you that they're the least expensive, because they're not. In the world of contracting, you get what you pay for. I'm a firm believer of that. But of course, from our perspective, we've already vetted them. And in many instances, and I've talked about this on this show numerous times, I'll put them through the vetting process myself by having them work on my house. I'll take the hits. If they suck, I'm certainly not going to recommend them to somebody. And I've had plenty of them that, say they're going to be there and they don't show up. And sometimes the work that they do is subpar, and I've got to fight those battles. But then you find some that are really worth the time, the energy, the cost. And they do a great job, and they deserve more business because they're actually doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're a real asset to our team. So the people that we recommend are people that we would use personally on our own homes with our own money. So if you need some help with a suggestion, with a recommendation, if you want to walk through the property and say, here's what we're thinking about doing, tell me what I'm missing, or tell me what where I'm going wrong. And our hope is that we give you, our blessing. Hey, these are all great ideas. Here are some things that you could do. Here are some things that I would not do. And here's how much we think they're going to cost. But here are the people that we typically use to handle that kind of stuff. Just doing that alone, I can almost guarantee you, and I understand saying this is it's tough to track that, but I can almost guarantee that we're going to save you money and time and headache on that process. So if that's something you're considering doing, just text that word report, 843-400-8009. Text the word report to that number. I'll send you that cost versus value report. And then if you'd like to have that conversation, let's just set aside a little time. Let's talk about what you're planning on doing. So what's interesting is, that story that I just mentioned about Zillow going out of business for home flipping through their Zillow offers program, which was only available in 25 cities across the country, by the way, but lost them a ton of money and forced them to, fire 25% of their workforce. We have had plenty of disruptors to our market over the course of the past several years, many of which come in the form of what are referred to as iBuyers. People that just will make an offer on your home sight unseen for the sake of convenience. But you better believe that if they are offering you cash sight unseen as is, that there's a twist, right? And the twist is typically that they're not paying you full market price for that property. Guess what happens when you do? You lose 25% of your workforce and your stock price gets cut in half. That's Zillow's lesson. So there's going to be this human element that's just needed in real estate transactions for as long as I can see. It might go digital at some point in time, but that is going to require so much data collection and management that it's also going to require the willingness of the person that owns that property to divulge that kind of information and have it be in the ether for everybody to know of. So I think we're a pretty long ways away from having real estate agents get cut out of the process as a middleman. I think we're still very much needed. And the ones that really understand what they're doing are worth the fee. They actually add value to the process. And there are obviously several agents that still need to work on the value that they add to the process. But in the grand scheme of things, if you're thinking over the course of the next, few weeks or few months of selling your property, we have another report, an e-guide. This is something that I wrote personally, and it's maybe just a good starting point for you. Obviously, we'd be much more a fan of a personal conversation so we can better understand your goals and how to serve you the best. But if you want to read through a guide that I put together, it's called 90 Things to Do to Sell Your Home for Top Dollar in any market. Now, granted, if you do everything that's on this list and you still don't sell your home and it's priced correctly and marketed well, I'll eat my hat on video. But it's a long list is another way of saying that. But it gives some fantastic pointers, things to do to prep your home, what you need to do while it's on the market. But I'll tell you, for some folks, it's just really unappetizing for them to have their home on the market for sale to the general public. They just don't want to deal with it. And because we're such an instant gratification society, that is why iBuyers, institutional buyers, have had such success, is they're essentially capitalizing on our interest in taking the easy way out, even if it costs us a little bit, sometimes a lot. I mean, Zillow's rate could be upwards of 22% of the sales price of your house, and you're complaining about, a 6% commission, and they're at 22%. So, what makes it really easy, quite honestly, is if we as an agent can bring a seller to a buyer or vice versa. It's all about database management. And that's what I want to talk about next, is how we can realistically match up folks in this type of market. So stick around. We'll talk more about that in just a moment. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. And remember, if you want to reach out to me, 843-400-8009 is my cell. That's my number. You can call or text that number. Text the word report to 843-400-8009 to get that cost versus value report I was telling you about that tracks the actual expense and return on investment on several projects throughout the house. And you can always just send me an email, brian@brianbeattyteam.com, if you just prefer to chat that way. Whatever's easiest for you guys. Stick around. We'll have more of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here in just a moment on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com.
Stay tuned for more of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com.
1250 WTMA.
Now, here's more of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back, folks, as the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. I want to say thank you to those of you that have listened to this program. It's kind of hard to think sometimes that I've been on this program for 8 years, and I know a lot of folks ask, how do you come up with content for 8 years talking about kind of the same thing? And the reality is, real estate's pretty interesting. Maybe I'm just saying that because I don't know. I love it. It's all I've ever really done. But there's so much to learn, and the markets change, and they change quickly, and I think you need to be made aware of that. The challenge is, and I realize the irony in saying this, please, I really do, but the challenge is everybody is fighting for relevance, right? Everybody's information, everybody's content wants to be viewed the most, watched the most. Everything that everyone does on social media wants to go viral, right? Who wouldn't want that? If it happens based on what we share, fantastic. That'd be great. My intention, my goal, anything I do on the show is done with the idea that I want to inform, advise, and educate so that you guys, when you go to buy or sell a home, you know the right questions to ask. You know some of these games that agents play, and we've talked about that kind of pretty regularly on the show. We help you understand how to separate some of this fact from fiction and how to not get too tied in with all the buzz that surrounds some of this news. So that's the whole purpose of the show. I appreciate those of you that listen to it. And again, if I can be of any help to you, of course we do sell real estate as our main job. We love doing the show, but we're full-time real estate agents. And so if I can help you with that, if you're thinking of buying, selling, or investing in real estate, and you want to work with somebody that really understands the market and has been at the top of their game for a long time, my number is 843-400-8009. That's 843-400-8009. Or you can go to listingsincharleston.com. You can communicate with us that way. Or you can go on my website, or you can email me, brian@brianbeattyteam.com. Now, one thing that I hear a lot of people say in this market is, yeah, sure, I could sell and I could cash out, but where would I go? I can't afford to buy anything that I would want to buy. Or any, it's not like I'm going to gain any ground, selling for this super high price. And then if I have to go out and buy something at a super high price, like, how do I win? Here's the reality. And this is what is changing in our market and just housing in general. For several years, there has been a financial incentive of sorts to move. That financial incentive is kind of going away, and we're going back to the basics. In other words, if you want to move, there should be a reason, right? There should be some, there's a pain point or a pleasure point somewhere in between. Is the reason for you to move in the first place? We just had our second child and we're in a 2-bedroom condo. That's not going to work for us. Now we need a home. Or our kids are off at college. We've got a 5,000 square foot home. We don't need all this space. I don't want to take care of all this space. Let's find something a little more manageable. So yeah, you're going to win on the seller side, and on the buyer side, let's just for a moment stop looking so hard at how much you have to agree to in the form of a purchase price, and let's think bigger picture for just a moment. And I'm not trying to like turn up the sales pitch on you here. I'm just having you think a little bit differently, because some people have sticker shock and they have kind of tunnel vision as it relates to just the sales price on things. What we need to be concerned with is payment and affordability, in my opinion. The way that you win as a buyer right now is in getting an interest rate at incredibly low rates. And I'm not sure how much they're already starting to tick up. I don't know how much longer we have left on this. I really don't. I'm not saying that to be like sarcastic or to be, shady or something. I honestly don't know how much longer these interest rates are going to stick around. And I think a lot of people are in the very same boat, and that in and of itself is an incentive to do something sooner rather than later. Now you've got all these other folks that are going to say, well, yeah, I think what's going to happen here is, think about it this way. What's the alternative? You sell your home and then you rent somewhere. Rents are through the roof because of all the people that are now getting priced out of the market. So rents are going up at astronomical levels, making it even harder for first-time home buyers to purchase property. And you need the first-time home buyers because they buy the home of the first-time home seller that goes and buys something even bigger and more expensive. So you've got some issues in this market right now. If interest rates go up more, then it breaks. It breaks down because affordability is already an issue. We're certainly seeing that in our market. We have watched the affordability index in the Charleston Tri-County area go down and down and down and down. Basically, every month it goes down. Affordability is comprised of three things: the amount it costs to buy something, your wage, and the interest rate, right? Well, we all know that asking prices on things are going up exponentially, have been. I don't know how much longer that's going to last, quite honestly. I think there's still some room there. Let's just think that there's some gas left in the tank for properties to appreciate, and they will. Charleston we do benefit from the fact that we're kind of insulated from what's going on in the rest of the country. We are kind of the beacon that's shining right now on the map of the U.S. for people to go to, and and why not? I mean, how awesome is this place? So we know that prices are going up. We know that interest rates, although they're low, have already been ticking up a little bit. They're going to start going up at some point. Who knows? I don't know when. There's a bunch of reports on, they're going to start seeing them go up a little bit more dramatically here in the next 6 to 12 months. We'll see. Who knows? It seems like they're always changing their mind on that. I'm not an economist, and I'm not going to play into fear mongering like some agents are that don't know what they're talking about. By the way, let's just make that clear. And then you've got then you've got wages. Well, we know that wage increases are not in line with the amount of money it costs to live in this country right now. And we're not just talking about housing costs, too. Think about the prices that are going up on everything across the board. Gas, food, all of it. Thank you, inflation. Just because there are more dollars in circulation and therefore homes are more expensive does not mean that more of those dollars are landing in your pocket. And that's the problem. So we're keeping a close eye on things, but I think that for the folks that are saying, if I could sell my home right now, but where would I go? Just think about it this way: you're winning against the bank. You're not necessarily winning. It's not like a buyer and a seller are like in a ring in a boxing match, and whoever hits them the hardest wins. Yeah, there's still, of course, an element of that. You always want to be the winning party. You always want to be the person that feels like they got the better deal. And we can help position you to do that because we we have figured out how to win in this market. Yeah, we've figured out what buyers need to do to differentiate themselves in a multiple offer situation. We've figured out how to get buyers properties that really no other buyers know about because they're tapping into our personal database. Same thing on the seller side. If you want to get your home sold for the most money possible, there's a strategy. There's really only 2 or 3 of them that really work in a market like this. If you want ultimate convenience, we can give you that option too. But I think in the grand scheme of things, there's not this huge financial incentive to move in a buyer versus seller scenario. The person that you win against, or the entity you win against, is the bank. Because as inflation continues to kick in, that 3.5% interest rate that they're going to get for the next 30 years is not going to be able to buy them anything. They're not going to be able to benefit from that. So they'll be kind of stuck. So that kind of feels good. I don't know. Maybe for some it does, especially those that got kind of burned in 2008. But that's how I would be looking at things right now. Now, does that mean that you just go out and you're willy-nilly with your checkbook and how much you can finance because, hey, prices will always go up? No, absolutely not. There is a method that we should be using. It's, of course, tied in with your goals, whether you're on the buy side or on the sell side. And these are things that I think we really need to be talking about more with our clientele rather than just being kind of put into this experience where when we talk to a buyer on the phone, as an example, and they call about a property and we're offering to be helpful and help them explain the market and the process, and really all they want is just, hey, I just want to go see the house, man. I'm not here for a speech. I don't care about your soapbox opinion of the market. That's all well and good. We can go and be a door opener for you. That's not a problem. Happy to do it. But I think there are a lot of people out there that need to be educated on this market and the process and some of the changes that are occurring. And that's what we'd like to do for you guys. So if anybody that's listening is interested in learning more about the market, especially the market that they either live in or that they want to live in, then let's have a discussion about it. Let's put together some plans. Let's game plan it out. Let's talk about some of the mistakes that people usually make. Let's obviously avoid those. And let's position ourselves to win. So if I can help you with that, 843-400-8009 is my number, 843-400-8009. Listingsincharleston.com is our website. Brian at brianbeattyteam.com is the email address. Reach out to me if you have any questions. Stick around for the last few minutes of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com.
It's the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. Broadcast Saturday mornings at 9 and Sunday mornings at 10 on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA.
1250 WTMA, the Big Talker.
You're listening to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com.
Welcome back, folks, to the last few minutes of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. Appreciate you guys listening in this morning. We always replay these shows. It's both Saturdays and Sundays, Saturdays at 9, Sundays at 10. And then we also put them on our website, listingsincharleston.com. So you can find us on there. You can find us on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, all that great stuff. Just search for the Brian Beatty Team and you'll find us. But again, if anything that I've said has kind of piqued your curiosity, you want to learn more about working with our team, how we approach this process. We're very consultative, educational in nature. Now, of course, we're also salespeople, and we don't shy away from that. We're not the type of agency that is going to say that we're all we care about is finding you the best home possible, right? Yes, of course, that's a given, but there's such a movement, it seems, in the world of sales today to be viewed as anything other than a person in sales. Well, I want to make myself really clear on this because I'm not ashamed to be in sales. I am a consultant for my clients. Truly, I really am. I don't need to sell them on anything because anything that I say is within their best interest. Now, obviously, I understand that in order for that to happen, or in order for my clients to believe me when I say that, they have to trust me. And those are, that's obviously those are the best relationships that you can have in a situation in which you're hiring somebody to do a job, to facilitate a transaction. But in my opinion, there is no trust without accountability. I've got to be able to do what I say I'm going to do. And if I don't, you should have the right, unequivocally, to fire me. We have that in our agreements, by the way. We have a communication guarantee and we have an easy exit guarantee. If we don't communicate with you at least once per week, if we drop the ball from a communication perspective, which is, by the way, the number one biggest complaint that people have about real estate agents is they just are not good at communication, as evidenced by, two main statistics that stick out in my head. Number one is that more than half of all real estate inquiries go unanswered. Period. I don't know where they go. I don't know what these agents are doing. But half of all real estate inquiries never get a call. It's ridiculous. Second one is that the average amount of time it takes to respond to an online inquiry in our industry is 32 hours. Man, that's great. Horrible, actually. Really bad. And so, like I mentioned, I don't shy away from being a salesperson. A lot of the clients that I work with, frankly, appreciate that we have a plan. That we have a plan to sell their properties. So much of what's done in this industry right now is reactive in nature, right? It's, hey, why would a real estate agent go and put up all this extra effort and time and energy and cost to do things outside of just putting it in the MLS and then waiting for other agents who have buyers to come and show the property and make an offer? I mean, what's the point? Why would an agent do that? Why would they spend more money to sell a property when the property is going to sell no matter what? It's such flawed thinking because there's nothing automatic about this market. You still have to work. You still have to position yourself correctly. You still have to market the property. You still have to be priced effectively. You still have to, kind of take the feedback with a grain of salt, but also look at it and respond to it if what they're saying is relevant. But from my perspective, as somebody that sells, a lot of real estate, especially when representing sellers and especially high-end sellers, I want to create urgency. I want to create fear of loss. That's the name of the game. I want somebody to look at one of my listings and say, you know what? If I don't make an offer, someone else will. Let's get in there. Let's go toe-to-toe. Let's get in our offer. I don't want to miss this one. If you can create that through marketing, you've won more than half the battle, I think. Then it's just details. Obviously, the details matter, but there's a real big void in this market for training of real estate agents, relevant training. So if you are thinking of getting into the industry, maybe you're in the industry right now, and you're just not getting the direction, the mentorship that you feel you need to be truly effective, a true value add with kind of, all the tools available in your tool belt, then I'd invite you to give me a call. We are growing. We've been very blessed and are very fortunate to be having another great year. And, none of that happens without the trust of our clients. And at least from our perspective, we don't want to hide behind the fact that we are salespeople. Yes, when you hire us, we are going to be consultants for you. We're not going to sell you on anything, but we're going to sell what you want to everybody else to increase the likelihood of that actually happening. And we know how to do it, and we're good at it. So if that's something we can help you with, whether you're buying or selling or investing, or you're an agent and you just want more out of your business, out of your time, you want to start gaining some momentum in your business, I'm here to tell you it's not easy, but we know how to do it, and we know how to do it well. So if we can help you with that, 843-400-8009 is my phone number, 843-400-8009. You can check us out online, listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Or you can send me an email, Brian, that's Brian with an I, at brianbeattyteam.com. Brian at brianbeattyteam.com. You guys enjoy your weekend, and thanks so much for listening to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show now, and especially those that have been following the show for many years. We really appreciate the support. So thanks so much. Enjoy your weekend. Thanks for listening to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com.
Join us for another edition of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show next Saturday morning at 9 and Sunday morning at 10. Contact Brian Beatty online at listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Or call him at 843-400-8009. That's 843-400-8009.